SiriusXM app filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
New Year's Eve is live across America on SiriusXM. Bring in 2024 with Fish at Madison Square Garden.
Put me on that stage, I played one note, and I know I was in Madison Square Garden.
And over 50 country acts, including Thomas Rhett, Leonard Skinner, and Lady Wilson at Nashville's Big Bash. Plus live shows on Alt Nation, The Heat, Hits One, and many other channels. Listen throughout New Year's Eve on the SiriusXM app.
Get the SiriusXM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car. Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. Channels vary by subscription plan. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
Hilarious live shows and interviews of the best comedians working today. Check out
Jeff and Larry's Comedy Roundup.
We've got live shows like Larry the Cable Guy and the Fun Bunch.
You're just winging stuff off each other, just telling stories.
And a comic mind with Jeff Foxworthy.
Backstage interviews with your favorite comedians.
And more.
Jeff and Larry's Comedy Roundup.
To hear Jeff Foxworthy's A Comic Mind and Larry the Cable Guy's Fun Bunch, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
SiriusXM, Monday at 5 Eastern, a pair of perennial powerhouses square off in the Rose Bowl as Alabama faces undefeated Michigan.
To the end zone, touchdown, J.J. McCarthy, touchdown, Wolverines.
Then at 8:45, it's Texas and Washington in the Sugar Bowl.
QB sneak, he's in, touchdown, Michael Penix.
Hear the national broadcast on SiriusXM Channel 8. Catch the hometown calls on Channel 82 and 84, or listen on the SiriusXM app.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. License number 018148868.
Big Pimpin', baby. The iconic rap verses.
Cause that's what a monster do.
The artists who shape the culture.
I know when that hotline bling.
Flex your musical muscles with a new channel. Future hip-hop from the 2000s.
Let me work it.
In the 2010s.
Be humble. Holla, sit down.
On Flex 2K. Now, Sirius XM, channel 49 in the Sirius XM app. Included in all channels and popular playlists. To hear Flex 2K, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com.
Call 844-711-8800 and become a VIP.
Offer details apply. Not available in Canada.
Grando Deportes, Bonjour, Vidi Vidi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe on 3 hours sleep. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't go to sleep till 4 o'clock in the morning, and I feel like I'm going on jet fumes. It seems like the whole world is irritated with me today, but that's okay. Whatever it is, I just come to give God some praise, all fair and love and war. If that makes sense to you, you can follow Big C Sports Today Show on a beautiful December 29th, 2023. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them to sit you where the good Lord split you. If that makes sense to you, really do appreciate that. You can follow Big C Sports on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, Amazon Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa. Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Bpod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Policy, Podcast in Public, and one that used to skip me but not doesn't is allfeeds.ai. Give that some praise. The robots are taking over. But if they try to take over too soon, what did Teddy Pendergrass say? He said, turn it off! When he told this woman to turn up the lights and light a candle, but just don't burn the house down. Sometimes people burn the house down. It doesn't make any sense, but sometimes that's what happens in this world. I want to also make sure we don't burn the house down on the Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody going through issues, and we all have issues. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And it's nice when somebody's leaning back, if that makes sense to you. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then God said, let there be light. Let there be light on everything that we do in life. We're coming, this is the last Friday in 2023. And oftentimes, we all have a New Year's resolution. I want more health, wealth, and wisdom, and more love, and peace, and kindness. I don't want any junk. I don't want any junk in life. I only want to have love. Give love some praise. All fair in love and war. And I really do appreciate that. I want to say what I do with Big C Sports Podcast, because I feel 2023 has been so miraculous in so many ways. And I expect an even better, more miraculous 2024. I was praying today with a pastor of mine, Pastor Eugene, and he told me about some things that are happening. And he also talked about sometimes there's turbulence in life, but you got to just trust God. Don't worry about confusion. God is not a confusion. Anything that's confusing in your life is not of God. So always give God praise and don't worry about the confusion, if that makes sense to you. And I just love hearing that message, because we all want to get rid of any kind of confusion in our lives. I want to tell you, you can follow Big C Sports. I always, number one, I produce the show. Number two, I direct the topics. Number three, I broadcast all the shows. Number four, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our life, especially when you've had 3 hours of sleep, all fair and love and war. And then the commercials are done. The stats are provided. I do the storytelling. And then I even do the play-by-play, and then the show's uploaded to 29 podcast platforms all over the universe, out of New York City, and I'm in Dimner Hills, California, which is a legal city called Dimner Hills, if that makes sense to you. Then number 10, I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports back in the days at Salem Media, and 8 years running, and I just want to give God praise. 8 years, and one beautiful, intelligent black man screaming all over the universe. I really do appreciate that. God is so amazing. And talking to my pastor, he's someone that I admire, and he told me a lot of good things about what he thinks about me as a human being. And I just want to say thank you, because you don't have to have people say anything nice about you. Sometimes confusion comes in when you have a smooth, wonderful life. Then confusion shows up. I don't know what that is, but it's happened. And whatever it is, I just want to say, if I ever step on somebody's toes, I apologize. If somebody steps on my toes, they should apologize. But sometimes people don't apologize. They just want to go forward, and that's okay too. I want to give God some praise, because it's so true. You know, I always talk about reparations in sports, and even Governor, I think Nikki Haley, she's stomping to be the Republican nominee for the presidential candidate in 2024. And I'll talk about some things she did earlier. I think it was yesterday. Someone asked her what her thoughts were on slavery. And when they asked her thoughts on slavery, she had something so asinine to say. Why would any black person or even decent white person vote for that woman? I'll bring up what she said, but she acted like slavery, it's about people. But she didn't want to acknowledge slavery, because the talk of reparations is all over this country now. And there are some people who benefited from that white skin privilege and all that garbage, the cronyism, the nepotism, and all the Jim Crow laws that benefited them. And then when they get in front of a microphone, someone in the audience says, "What are your thoughts on slavery?" And she said, "Oh, that's just a plant. Somebody planted that person in the audience." Why not say that slavery was America's biggest sin, and you believe in reparations for the sin of the child of slavery? But she didn't say that. She dodged the question. And then she called the person a plant for asking about slavery, which everyone all over the country is talking about, especially in California and New York. But that's Nikki Haley, a white lady who benefited from affirmative action. Ask her a question about slavery. Oh, it's about people. Whatever it is, I always want to bring it out. I want to just say, because today is the final show for 2023, I have a lot of great things planned for 2024 as Big C Sports is expanding throughout the universe. I want to give God praise. I'm going to praise God. I'm going to praise God. I'm going to praise God, because people change, but God does not change. I've seen it throughout my life, and now I'm understanding more and more what I was told as a young boy. I love praising my beautiful family where I came from. I'm the only sportscaster in the universe that does that. I pay homage to where I come from, because when you know where you come from, maybe you respect your root a little better. And I want to give my root a little praise, if that makes sense to you. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother called her Mama, beautiful, loving, kind woman, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. Really do appreciate her. And then my great-grandfather, Pop, former military man and former Negro League baseball player. The real MacGyver could fix anything, planes, trains, and automobiles. And then my beautiful grandmother, Muddy, a beautiful, loving, kind woman. A seer could oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, present, and their future. She's been working with me. I was up praying all last night, like, what's going on? And it's all fair and love and war. I really just love my dear for still working with me. And then my beautiful grandfather, Hezekiah, another one of a person, a seer, could oftentimes look at a person and tell you what's happening about their past, present, and future. And then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and then also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Give mama some praise. I said a Head Start program, a food program, and then also coached an all-boys Little League baseball team to the championship. The first black woman in Denver Hills, California, to do so. Always saying rise and shine. The best person I ever met in my life. I love my mama with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Always saying, baby, just pray. On my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, he was a pastor. He had 3 churches, 2 in Oakland, 1 in Central California. But he also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland, one on Bancroft, the other on Foothill. They were Shell gas stations. But what I'm most proud of, my granddaddy owned 40 acres of land, like the Emancipation Proclamation. But we were descendants of child of slavery. Were offered 40 acres and a mule. And unfortunately, when President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson came along and he vetoed the bill. And there's so many times that we as black Americans try to work together, people that should love each other. And then confusion sets in. Like, why? I guess it's just part of the trauma. Kendrick Lamar wrote about it. Doesn't make any sense. We're trying to get reparations passed for the descendants of child of slavery, and sometimes we can't even get along with our own kind. Why is that? It doesn't make any sense, but the devil's busy too. All's fair in love and war. I want to say that my beautiful grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my grandfather with the 3 churches and the 2 gas stations. I was 8 years old, walking through a hallway at about 10 o'clock at night. And I felt a hand touch me on my forehead. She said, "What are you doing, young man? You going to get some more cookies?" I said, What are you doing up, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies?" I said, "Cookies and baby crap. That's what I'm doing, Grandma. I'm going to get my reparations." I thought that was funny. But ironically, she said something to me. She edified me. As a young boy, we know young children need edification. She said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And is it amazing that her grandson is on as many platforms as anyone in the world when it comes to podcasts? I got to give that some praise. She spoke life into me. She didn't try to break me down. Sometimes people just want to break you down, and that's not cool. But I understand that because I was taught to pray growing up. Always trust God. People come and go. Always trust God. When you're wrong, apologize. Even when you're right, it's okay to apologize. But God knows that God is my source, always will be. Really do appreciate what I learned from my grandmother. And then my beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that airplanes can fly high so we can all stay safe at night. I'm telling you, always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. And I really do appreciate my dad. Love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice, sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. A voracious reader, always talking sports and politics. In fact, I've been doing it for almost as long as I can recall, watching the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl. But I really want to see the Rose Bowl. I'll talk about that later with Michigan and Alabama, and the Sugar Bowl with Washington and Texas. It's part of my family legacy that we've always gathered around the television and watched these games that I love so much, and seen how things have changed in life for these young boys that grow up and many times can become coaches, etc. Really do appreciate Todd. Love Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then my beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. Give me some praise. Daughter, think about this. Set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast. Back in the days at Salem Media. From there, we went on to become the first time in the history of the United States of America that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. It had never happened before until 2 black men in the crew started doing our things. And like oftentimes, shenanigans sets up when something should be smooth sailing. Why do shenanigans show up? I don't know. But I keep giving God the praise, and I always will, if that makes sense to you. And then, Daisy, I'm telling you, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years. You can be anything you want to be, and then help me set up to work with college coaches when they came to the West Coast to do work with Big C Sports. As you know, Daisy, I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And life sometimes has its distractions, and sometimes you got to realize that everybody that comes into your life, they're either going to be good for you or bad for you. There's no separation in God. You got to understand that everything that's good, God wants it to be there for you. Always be there for your family. Never let people divide your family. I always want to say that I'm just so proud of you. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. But you and I know that things will be better in 2024 once the confusion is gone. I want to give God some praise to end that confusion. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College senior, very smart, erudite, a good man. Love you with everything I have, son. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers to look up stats for the Big C Sports Podcast. One day, Malcolm said, "Dad, why don't you just Google it?" And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. Now on 29 podcast platforms and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. One day, Malcolm said, "Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, 'Play Big C Sports.' You'll see your show come up." And that's before it was even on the air. He prophesied over it. And now it's on 4 TV platforms streaming. Malcolm, you can be anything. You know, there's so much in life that you can do. And I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Don't ever let confusion divide our family. We know oftentimes in society, The black man's always under target. Sometimes you can't say the right thing. It doesn't matter what you say. Sometimes people just want to pick you apart and divide us. Don't let it happen to you. It's going to be a much better 2024 than was with all that confusion in 2023. I want to give God praise because you're a great man, and I do anything I can to help you rise and shine, if that makes sense to you. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, always saying, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe, saying, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying, welcome to the show. SB nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-way teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. I do it myself with God as my source. God is always my source. No matter what people say, I will always honor God, and that makes me want to give God praise. Sometimes all you got is the praise, and God opens doors through the praise. So many things have been happening in my life of late. I didn't send in resumes. I gave God praise. From getting into meetings to having opportunities in business, it wasn't about sending in the resume. It was about sending in the praise. And that's why I love saying it. It's not a joke. This stuff works. As I was talking to my pastor this morning, and he said, Charlton, whenever God's going to help you ascend in life, there's going to be some turbulence. And I didn't really know what he was talking about, but I understand it. That's pretty much how Big C Sports got started. He said, whenever there's going to be progress in life, the enemy's going to create some disturbance. And I didn't want to hear that, but it's true. It happened this morning. Doesn't make any sense, because I have a calling, and I know I do. I was prophesied over this morning, and we're not going to live forever. But find out who's on your team. Just like football, basketball, and baseball teams, they find out who's on their team, and you play with your teammates. You don't try to destroy your teammates. You don't create confusion among people that you love. But it happens. It happens because that's what the enemy comes to do, create the confusion. Everything can be going so great, and then the enemy comes in with all that static and all that junk to create confusion. And you'll see more and more of that happening in 2024 as they pass reparations. You're going to see people coming in with confusion, because that's what the enemy wants. Be confused. And especially in the black community, there are a lot of times when our own people won't work together, just for whatever is called confusion, lack of discernment. And we ask God for favor, and then people that we should not be at odds with, confusion seeps in like lightning. God's no respecter of persons. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. But at the same time, there's going to be some confusion. I've already experienced it with our own people. There will be confusion as opposed to love and understanding. Confusion. How can we get reparations when people that's supposed to love each other can't even get along? Because of confusion. I want to give praise to the California Reparations Task Force, Camila Moore. She's the chair. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I'm going to give praise to Dr. Amy C. Brown. He's the vice chair. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to the #1 senator in the United States of America, California Senator Stephen Bradford. I want to give him praise. Going to be meeting with him coming up soon in the new year. He also is the author. He sponsored Name, Image, and Likeness, which helps college athletes get paid. You'll hear about that as college games are going on. Also, he sponsored the Ebony Alert that helps law enforcement put the same amount of resources into finding black children when they go missing as it does with the Amber Alerts for white children. I love giving them praise. I want to give praise to Councilmember Monica Montgomery Stephens. She's brilliant. Love giving them praise. I want to give praise to Senate member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give her praise to Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California, Berkeley. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. And I'm going to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, part of the Reparations Task Force. As a Japanese American, his family received reparations. I love giving him praise. I want to thank This Is CNN, proud sponsors of Big C Sports. I want to thank PNC Private Bank, proud sponsor of the Big C Sports. I want $6 billion. And I'm not shucking and jiving. I want to thank Double O, the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. She sent me an article on Executive Order 13985 on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's called the White House. But at the same time, we all as people of color got to get along. The division happens because the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Don't let that happen as we build up coalitions around the country for reparations. I want to also thank Georgetown University. They pledged over $1 billion in reparations for descendants of chattel slavery, but it was only 272 families. You think $1 billion, that's a lot of money, Big C. Well, the LA Dodgers gave over $1 billion to 2 baseball players, more than Georgetown's pledge for 272 families. Think about that when you think $1 billion is a lot. 2 baseball players got what Georgetown has paid out to 272 families that were descendants of chattel slavery that helped build Georgetown. They were being sold off to pay the debts for Georgetown. Makes you go home, doesn't it? Like the great Arsenio Hall said back in the day. I want to thank This is T-Mobile, proud sponsors of Big C Sports, America's largest 5G network. And I want to give some praise to President Joe Biden because he needs it. Because he did sign Executive Order 13985 that was sent to me by Double O. He also said that he backs studying reparations as Congress considers a bill. Well, more than a bill, we need to pass it. We got to get. So I want to give him praise for that. He could have sucked and dived like Nikki Haley did. When they asked President Biden about slavery, he said he supports a bill to study it. Studying is not enough. They need to pass it. When they asked Nikki Haley, the number 2 person for the Republican Party, when they asked her about slavery, she said, "You're a plant." You're a plant? She didn't even acknowledge slavery, but she's asking some black people to vote for her. Think about that when she asks you for your vote. Tell her she's a plant. Not the one that grows out of the ground, if that makes sense to you. Also, Google Freedmen's Bank, Freedmen's Bank. And Congress created that bank during Reconstruction for descendants of chattel slavery so they have a place to put their money. And we know they had 50 white trustees who were appointees over the bank, and they stole the money. They stole it. We have so much that we can do if we just don't have division. Division comes. My pastor was just telling me about it. That division is coming. He told me that this morning through the praise. I didn't want to believe it. How did he know? But I've been feeling it all in my gut this morning. It's all fair in love and war. I do want to say, I know a lot of people are looking for work in the United States. Banks have been tightening up the purse strings as a lot of people are trying to find ways to pay their bills and to keep money coming in. And here I am praising God for $6 billion. It is going to happen. We're going to connect commerce all over the United States, and we're going to generate over $6 billion in business coming up in 2024. We're working with insurance companies all over the United States, part of the Big C team, and I just thank God for that. Because it's so important that as more things are happening, that God is opening my eyes, and I just want to give God praise for it. But my pastor did say confusion will come too, Big C, because that's how the enemy gets in. He wants to divide people. I want to thank NBC News. They did a story on reparations, March 30, 2023. One of the days I fell down the stairs. I fell down the stairs at a building in Dimdare Hills, California, and I was holding on to my phone and some coffee, and as it was like the Matrix. I was flying through the air. Now, what probably took me about 2 seconds to fall down, 3 steps. I was in the air. I remember, like the Matrix, I was turning to my backside because I'd rather my backside hit that granite floor than my head hit the granite floor. So my backside hit the granite floor. I didn't drop my phone. I didn't spill my coffee. But I remember that. And the next day, I got a call from the Associated Press. It was Janie Har, and it ring. Hello. Hi, this is Charlton Curry. Yes, this is Charlton. How can I help you? Hi, this is Janie Har, the Associated Press. I said, how'd you get my number? She said, we have our ways. I said, what made you call me? She said, I heard you speak at a Reparations Task Force rally. I said, okay, well, how can I help you? She said, I want to get your thoughts on reparations. I said, if you heard me speak, then you know my thoughts. Like Abraham Lincoln, I said, reparations now, reparations forever. That was back in March of 2023. In fact, March 30th. And that story's been picked up by NBC News, CBS News, ABC News, Fox News. A sports guy on reparations? I'm telling you, God is doing something. I want to ask people to Google HR 40. It's important. The commission to study and develop reparations proposal for African Americans descendants of child slavery. Also in California, AB 3121. And it's legislative. It's already with the legislature in California to study reparations. That's important. I ask people to Google powernomics.com by Dr. Claude Anderson. He has some great books that people can read. I just want to say New York City Governor Ms. Hochul also studied reparations, continues to search for leadership and racial equity in science legislation, establishing that group. There's so much I can talk about when it comes to reparations. And it's so important. The last thing I'll say on this is California Senator Stephen Bradford was interviewed recently. It says, this is by NBC News, reparations gained historic momentum in 2023 because of California's efforts. For the Golden State, what's next would be tough in turning all the recommendations over to the legislature from a statewide task force to make it into policy. And I'm telling you, that's important because it's happening as we are speaking. Now, for me, as one beautiful, intelligent black man, for the first time, advocates are seeking reparations for the harms inflicted on black Americans during centuries of slavery in the United States. It saw movement to address that issue. Many municipalities are looking at ways to address and answer for reparations. You got to give that praise, except for Nikki Haley. She doesn't even want to talk about slavery. When someone asked her a question about slavery, how she's going to address slavery, she said, "Oh, you must be a plant." She just wants the black vote. White lady who benefited from affirmative actions because of black people. She wants the black vote. But can't be too hard on her. A lot of our black folks can't even get along. Doesn't make any sense. Looking to divide and conquer from within, that doesn't make any sense. I guess the Willie Lynch letter was real, but I'll do my best to keep praising God. And if I can do anything that makes reparations come to more fruition, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I talk about it on every show. I'm not shucking and jiving and pretending that somebody else is going to do it. I grew up being told you either lead, follow, or get out of the way. This is not about people who say what they're going to do. Do it now. Just do it now. I want to also, because this is the last day, the last Friday actually, of 2023, I did a show on a good friend by the name of Walter Henry, who treated me like a son and opened so many doors for me in insurance that I couldn't have opened on my own. But he'd been doing it 40 years. And there's some things I thought would have happened 10 years ago. They're starting to happen now. Because some of his friends, I didn't burn any bridges. When they heard my name, they took the phone call. I give God praise for that. It has nothing to do with me, other than walking by faith and not by sight. Being offered many opportunities. I'm just so grateful. So many things that we want to do, I want to be a part of it. And I'm just so happy. I love talking to the gentleman, Stephen Bradford. Has conversations with him in the past. Reparations for Californians who are descendants of black American slaves are one step closer to becoming a reality. But precisely what those reparations will be has not been fully defined yet. Senator Stephen Bradford, Democrat of Gardena, California, introduced Senate Bill 490, the first reparations-related bill introduced in the California legislature since the State Reparations Task Force submitted its submittal for final recommendations to report to the governor, Gavin Newsom, earlier this summer. I want to give that some praise. I want to give it praise. And I also want to come up on the Big C pause because I want to try to do something that's a little bit different than I've done in many shows. So I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. And in the words of former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
Process. That's our Gardena Senator Stephen Bradford. his legislation, SB 490. It is the first reparations-related bill introduced in the start to the reparations process. That's how Gardena Senator Stephen Bradford. Legislation, SB 490. It is the first reparations-related bill introduced in the...
And that was having just the introduction of California Senator Stephen Bradford that introduced the bill. That's going to help because now, if you're familiar with golf, it's on the back nine of a golf tournament. It's no longer hoping, no longer praying. It's in the hands of the lawmakers now. Senate Bill 490. And I'm so proud that Big C Sports, Charlton Curry was part of it, as I was there at the Secretary of State building when Shirley Weber, who helped put together the group, along with Gavin Newsom, to study reparations, was there. I want to give that praise because I see it coming to the fruition now. It's no longer about will it or will it not happen. It's about to happen now. And that, to me, I just want to say thank God and thank the smart minds that work together. We all don't have to agree with everything, but it's just great that people can get along and try to figure it out, especially for descendants of child slavery. But as my pastor said, there will be division coming too. I didn't understand what he said, but it's all fair and level, or maybe that's why I couldn't sleep last night. But I want to get into, and give that some praise, I'm going to get into some NFL football. It's week 17 of the schedule, and so 2023, there's some great matchups for NFL football. Last night, we saw what happened with the Cleveland Browns clinching their spot into the NFL playoffs for the first time in many, many moons. Joe Flacco had a great game, so really congratulations with their win over the New York Jets, 37-20. But I'm going to tell you, coming up, I'm going to give you Big C's thoughts for this weekend. And again, I'm pretty much about 70%, 75% on that picks, sometimes 80%, but I don't bet on games, 800 gambler. I don't bet for so many reasons. I don't bet because there are times you win and sometimes you lose, but I don't want to be a bettor of games. I will be a predictor of games, if that makes sense to you. I got coming up this weekend, the Detroit Lions 11-4 at the Dallas Cowboys 10-5, 8:15 p.m. kickoff East Coast time Saturday on ESPN. And Dallas is favored by 5.5. The over-under is 52. I guess the storyline to watch is, could a cowboy really eat a lion? I guess if he's hungry enough, but we know a lion could definitely eat a cowboy. I got to just give one story. I was walking through the park this morning doing my exercise, trying to go my usual 4 miles, and a good old boy came up in a big white pickup, and there were some children around also because kids are out of school, and he had 2 pit bulls. One was gray, the other was kind of brownish, and they were pretty good size. And they started playing, and then I was trying to walk a little bit faster, and they looked at me and they started coming toward me. And I said, "Sir, your dog's okay? Are your dogs okay?" And he said, "Oh yeah." He said, "Oh yeah, they just playful." That's not what I wanted to hear. I want to hear they're on a leash and a leash law. And I said, we have a leash law in this park. There's kids. He said, "Oh yeah, they're fine." But it didn't. I'm just saying it didn't bother me. They didn't bother me. The dogs didn't. I just said, "God, don't let those dogs bother me." Whatever it was, and I'm bringing that up because sometimes you just got to speak the word into things. But when your 2 pit bulls are approaching you, you don't know them. They don't know you. I mean, there's a reason I carry a protection in my wallet or in my pocket. But you just never know when you got to use it when I'm out for my walk in dim their heels. But back to the protection, the Cowboys and the Lions. A lion would eat a real cowboy. But if Cowboy if they get the rope, they can eat the lion. But the Cowboys need a win to keep their NFC East title alive. And they maybe have a chance at a victory to stop a 2-game losing streak. They've lost a close game to Miami last week, and they got blown out by Buffalo. They got to get back on the winning streak. I think they won 14 or 15 in a row down in Texas. So the Cowboys are a tough team, and everybody thinks about who's going to win this game. The Cowboys are 7-0 at home and 7-1 overall, and the Lions are 7-2. When you think about these teams, both playoff bounds, yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? Well, again, I'm one that I call for 800 gambler because I don't bet on games, and there's a reason I don't. But a betting nugget, the Detroit Lions are 10-5 to the over this season. That's tied for the highest over percentage in the NFL. But I say, how about those Cowboys? I got the Cowboys getting off the losing streak that they've been on. I got the Cowboys winning 31-24. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I think Dak Prescott has a breakout game again. The New England Patriots 4-11 at the Buffalo Bills 9-6, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. Buffalo's favored by 13. The over/under is 40.5. What you got to watch for: the Patriots won their first meeting in October, if you can believe that. But the Bills are 12-1 in home games against division opponents since 2020, including the playoffs. And all that means is you got to realize Buffalo, they play a lot better when they're at home, and you'd be crazy to go against the Buffalo Bills in a game like this. Now, New England, are they playing for draft picks? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But I do know Buffalo's looking to lock up a spot in the playoffs in the NFC East, but they got to deal with, can they handle the team in front of them, New England? Because Miami's most likely going to win that division, even though I think Miami's going to lose this week at Baltimore. I'll get into that a little bit later. But what does Las Vegas think, Curry? What does Las Vegas think, Big C, about the Bills in their game coming up this week and the Patriots? Well, 800 gambler, because I don't bet on sports. But I'm telling you, when you do bet on sports, for Las Vegas, a betting nugget, the Bills are 0-7 against the spread in their past 7 games as a double-digit favorite, including the playoffs, and 0-3 this season. That tells you that Vegas thinks the Buffalo wins, but they don't cover the spread. I got Buffalo 28, and I have the Patriots 17, if that makes sense to you. I got another game, the Atlanta Falcons 7-8 at the Chicago Bears 6-9, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on CBS Sports. Chicago's a 3-point favorite. The over/under is 37.5. The storyline look, the storyline, the Bears are who we thought they are. You want to crown them. The late great Dennis Green. But the Bears are looking for their 5th straight win at Soldier Field, and what could be quarterback Justin Fields' final home game in Chicago. The Bears have about a 96% chance to win this game. But I'm telling you, when I think about what happens with these two teams, the Bears and Falcons, Justin Fields has a 4-3 record in his past 7 starts. He had lost 12 straight prior to that. The Bears are coming on. The Bears are who we thought they were. But what does Las Vegas think, Big C? What does Las Vegas think? I'm not a better 800 gambler. 6 of the past 8 Bears games have gone under the total. What's that tell you? The Bears 24, the Falcons 21. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. How about those Raiders 7-8 at the Indianapolis Colts 8-7, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. And Indianapolis is favored by 3.5. The over/under is 43.5. The Raiders, under interim coach Antonio Pierce, have held 4 of their 7 opponents under 100 yards rushing. Meanwhile, the Colts have been suddenly inconsistent in their ground game, and that tells you some things are changing on the inside the dome. Both teams play inside the dome. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? Well, I'm not a betting man. I don't bet on sports. 800 gambler if you do, but I have a betting nugget. The Raiders are 6-1 against the spread in 7 games since hiring coach Antonio Pierce. They are 4-1 against the spread in their past 5 games as underdogs. What does that tell you? It tells you, I think the Raiders get a 21-20 win over the Colts, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm going to say they get over the hump because they've been coming on strong, if that makes sense to you. Got the Los Angeles Rams 8-7 at the New York City Giants 5-10, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. The LA Rams are a 5.5-point favorite. The over/under is 44.5. That makes sense to a lot of bettors. It may not make sense to the Maven. At the same time, the Rams are currently the 6th seed in the NFC. They have about a 75% chance of making the playoffs. The Lions are the Giants. The Giants are just a disappointment this year. The Rams have scored 28 or more points in 5 straight games. Yeah, but what is that? What does Las Vegas think, Big C? Well, Las Vegas is, again, 800 gambler. I don't bet on sports. But the Rams have covered 5 straight games. That's the longest active streak in the NFL. My story, and I'm sticking with it, the Rams 31, the Giants 17, and that's my story. I'll stick with it. I got the Arizona Cardinals 3-12 at the Philadelphia Eagles 11-4, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff time, East Coast time on Fox Sports. Philadelphia is favored by 11. The over/under is 48.5. What you got to look for, in my opinion, the Cardinals coach Jonathan Gannon makes his return to Philadelphia. The former Eagles defensive coordinator had a bumpy exit with his defense yielding 17 fourth-quarter points in their games. I'm going to tell you what I think about this game. The Eagles have gotten back on the right side of the football. A stat to know: the Eagles are 12-1 when A.J. Brown has a receiving touchdown, and 13-6 when he does not. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? Well, as I told you, I'm not a gambler, 800 gambler, if you pull money out of your wallet to give to somebody you don't even know. The Eagles are 0-8 against the spread in their past 7 games. In December or later, my pick, the Eagles 35, the Cardinals 20. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Who that say they gonna beat them Saints? The New Orleans Saints 7-8 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 8-7, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. The spread, Tampa Bay is favored by 2.5 points. The over/under is 42.5. It's called the Battle for the South, not like the Civil War, but the Battle for the South. The Buccaneers can clinch the NFC South with a win over the New Orleans Saints, or as they say, New Orleans Saints, on Sunday. In touchdown, Baker Mayfield, he's 1 touchdown pass away from tying his rookie season career high of 27. I think he'll get it if that makes sense to him. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? Las Vegas thinks 800 gambler. I don't bet on sports, as I always tell you, if that makes sense to you. A betting nugget: the Buccaneers are 1-6 outright against teams currently with winning records, and they're 4-3 against the spread, winning last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. My pick, Tampa Bay 31, New Orleans 27. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. How about the Bang Bang Niner game? Because there's gold in their heels. There's gold in their heels, but they got the butts whipped last week at home by the Baltimore Ravens. But there's always a chance for turning the page. The 49ers, my pick to go to the Super Bowl from the NFC. They are 11-4 in the season. They're at the Washington Commanders that are 4-11. It's a 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. Now, the 49ers are favored by 12.5. The over-under is 49.5. The storyline to watch: former Washington defensive end Chase Young makes his return 2 months after the team traded him to the 49ers. Young recorded 5 sacks in 7 games with Washington. He has 2.5 sacks in 7 games with the 49ers, though he's been a backup with the 49ers after starting for the Commanders. Of his 53 pass rush wins, I'm telling you, 38 came with Washington. I got to tell you, this guy is going to go back and make some noise. Running back Christian McCaffrey, if he scores 3 touchdowns to become the Niners' single-season record holder, he has 21 touchdowns rushing and receiving combined through 15 games, leaving him just 2 short of Jerry Rice's franchise record of 23, which Rice did in just 12 games in 1987, if that makes sense to you. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think about this game, Big C? As I tell you, 800 gambler, I don't bet on games, but if you do, what Vegas is saying, the 49ers have covered 4 straight on the road, and 4 straight as road favorites. There's a lot to make up for what they did last week with 5 interceptions. I got San Francisco winning this game in Washington. I got them winning 31-14. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And now, the Carolina Panthers 2-13 at the Jacksonville Jaguars 8-7, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. The storyline: only the Commanders' Sam Howell, 60, has been sacked more than Panthers rookie quarterback Bryce Young, 53 times, which is a good sign for the Jaguars' pass rush. But I'm telling you, they're going to be better next year with Bryce Young. I got to tell you, a bold prediction: Young, who did not have a 300-yard passing game until this past Sunday against Green Bay, probably will have his second against the Jaguars defense, ranked 29th against the pass. He's starting to come into his own, and I think you'll see by next year he'll be a much better quarterback when he's not throwing the ball laying on his backside. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? A betting nugget, 800 gambler. I don't bet on games. 7 of the past 9 Panthers games have gone under the total, if that makes sense to you. I got the Panthers 24, the Jaguars 21. Yeah, I know that's a crazy prediction, but that's my story and I'm taking with it. How about those Dolphins? The Miami Dolphins 11-4 at the Baltimore Ravens 12-3, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. The spread is Baltimore's favored by 3. The over-under is 46.5. The storyline to watch: it's a showdown between the NFL's highest-scoring offense and the Miami Dolphins, averaging 29 offensive points per game, and the league's stingiest defense, and the Ravens giving up 16.3 points per game. It's the 4th time that the number 1 scoring offense has faced the number 1 scoring defense. since the 1970 merger, if that makes sense to you. I got to tell you, Superman Lamar Jackson, he's the real deal. Tua Tagovailoa, he's also the real deal. But I would think a Raven could beat a Dolphin as long as they get him out of the water. If the Dolphin gets the Raven in the water, then it's all fair and never war. But this game is played out of the water. That makes sense to you. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? A betting nugget, 800 gambler. I don't bet on sports. That's my story. I'm taking with it. The Dolphins have failed to cover 3 straight as underdogs, as well as all 3 straight as a road underdog. I got my pick. The Baltimore Ravens 28, the Miami Dolphins 21. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Got the Houston Texans at home, 8-7 versus the Tennessee Titans 5-10, 1 o'clock p.m. kickoff, East Coast time on Fox Sports. Houston is favored by 5.5. The over/under is 43.5. The storyline: can Texans control their own destiny? If they win, they'll be in the postseason. If the Titans face a different version of the Texans, as rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud has cleared concussion protocol, and this good old boy, he suffered a concussion. He led the league in passing yards, 3,600 yards, and threw for 20 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That Texas offense with C.J. Stroud back, they're the real deal. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? Las Vegas, 800 gambler. I'm not a gambler. I don't bet on games, but if you do, a betting nugget. The Titans are 1-8 against the spread in their past 9 games against teams with winning records. My story, Houston, Texas, 28. Tennessee Titans, 20. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers 8-7 at the Seattle Seahawks 8-7, 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports. Seattle's favored by 3.5. The over/under is 41.5. The storyline to watch. While the Seahawks' run defense has faltered as of late, their pass defense has been much better. Earlier in the year, they've been much maligned. After a line roughly about 3.6 pass plays per game in the last 20 yards are over. DK Metcalf has to get deep. So deep, push the button to sleep for the Seattle Seahawks. The Steelers will have their first 100-yard rusher since week 11. I think they'll get 100 yards from the ground. But I think over the top, DK Metcalf, you'll hear his name called twice for the touchdown. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? I'm not a bettor. I don't gamble on games. But for those you do, 800 gambler, 5 of the past 6 Seahawks games against the AFC teams have gone under the total, if that makes sense to you. I got Seattle winning 28. The Steelers 24, if that makes sense to you. The Chargers of Los Angeles 5-10 at the Denver Broncos 7-8. They benched Russell Houdini Wilson. It's at 4:25 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. Denver's a 3.5-point favorite. The over/under is 36. The storyline: Broncos coach Sean Payton, he benched quarterback Russell Wilson this week after Payton had publicly again expressed his frustration over the offensive performance. They can't blame it all on one guy. Sometimes you got to look at the coach. Well, at the same time, you got the Chargers really not playing for anything. The Broncos aren't really playing for anything, but the Broncos defense, they have 15 sacks in the past 4 games. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? 800 gambler. I'm not a bettor. I don't bet on sports, but if you do, I have a betting nugget for you. The Chargers are 2-5 against the spread. In their past 7 games, they have gone under their total in 10 of their past 13 going over the last week. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. The Broncos 20, the Chargers 14. I got to tell you, that's my opinion. Got the Cincinnati Bengals 8-7 at the Kansas City Chiefs 9-6, 4:25 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on CBS Sports. Kansas City's favored by 7. The over/under is 44.5. If this game was anything like the Chiefs and Bengals meeting from recent seasons, it's much-watched TV. At the same time, you can't really count on Kansas City, and you can't really count on Cincinnati. I don't know what to say about touchdown Patrick Mahomes. He's just making mistakes that you wouldn't expect a senior quarterback to make with all of his great plays over the years. Mahomes needs 329 passing yards to pass Lynn Dawson of 28,507 yards for the most in franchise history. I think he'll get it, if that makes sense to you. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C? 800 gambler. I don't bet on sports, but if you do, a betting nugget. The Chiefs are 10-18 against the spread in their past 28 games when laying at least a touchdown. They're not good against the spread. But I'm going to say they will remain true to that. I got the Chiefs 28. I got the Bengals 24, if that makes sense to you, because I can't trust Kansas City. I got the Green Bay Packers 7-8 at the Minnesota Vikings 7-8, 8:20 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on NBC Sports. Minnesota's favored by 1. The over/under is 44.5. I'm telling you, the Vikings are once again They're turning to rookie quarterback Jaron Hall, largely because they're out of options. Nick Mullins, who threw 6 interceptions and 2 starts, doesn't make sense. Yeah, but what does Las Vegas think, Big C, about this game, the monster of the Midwest? 800 Gambler, I don't bet on sports, but if you do, 800 Gambler, Las Vegas is thinking what I'm thinking. Don't bet on sports. Primetime unders are 33-17 this season, 156 and 102 and 4 over the past 5 seasons. I'm going to go Green Bay 21, Vikings 17. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I tell you, let's get ready to rumble. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got to close out today's show. My thoughts on college football, the Final Four. You got the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. They will have number 1 Michigan against number 4 Alabama. Michigan's only favored by 1. 1? I guess that's how you were raised. But it's hard to go against Nick Saban. The point spread is fluctuated between 1 and 1.5. But for the line, throw out the line. Alabama's a better team. They have a better coach. They're a grass team playing on a grass surface at the Rose Bowl. Michigan is a turf team playing on a grass surface. I'm going to go with Alabama winning this game by a touchdown. I got 31-24, if that makes sense to you. And now we got to go down to the Deep South, down in Nolens, where they love their sugar. The Sugar Bowl, you got the Washington Huskies, ranked number 2 versus number 3 Texas. And Texas is favored by 4. And I think they have a chance at winning because their offensive and defensive line are stronger. But for Washington, the Huskies, they got to pass it, they got to pass it, they got to pass it. Michael Penix Jr., Texas has not seen a quarterback the likes of Michael Penix Jr. If he can throw deep and keep going so deep, put their butt to sleep, I think Washington has a chance to knock off Texas. But I think if Texas, because they're big and beefy up front, they can't control the line of scrimmage. And I got this game coming down to maybe a final possession. And I think Texas, because they have the home field advantage with all those fans coming in and burnt orange, I think Texas gets the over on this one. I think they'll knock off Washington. I got Texas winning 34-31 against the Huskies, if that makes sense to you. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year! Wait, Big C, you didn't do the Drew Bodini round. Oh, yeah, that's right. You know, for the holidays, people are out celebrating, having a great time. If you're going to drink, please don't drive. If you're going to drive, please don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car after they've been drinking and start driving. The life you save may be your own or someone you love. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as you always know, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. Because every time I listen to Big C Sports, it makes me want to say reparations now, reparations forever. And then I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911 because things change when the police show up. Nobody has a right to put their hand on you, and things change when the police show up. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as you know, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, I thank you. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day. I gotta say, well, hold on, Big C. Before you gotta say anything, you didn't honor President Abraham Lincoln. Well, I'm gonna do that as I get a chance. But I also have a special message for people that I want to say with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I thank you for your support for Big C Sports Podcast. If you've ever listened to the show, if you've ever told a friend, I do appreciate you. I get to do something that I love with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And I give God all the praise for it because I feel so blessed. I feel so anointed. And I really want to say, God, thank you, Lord, as I have more coming for Big C Sports Podcast in 2024. And I love giving that praise, if that makes sense to you. Well, as you know, back by popular demand, I want to pay homage to President Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president. As he would always say to the Congress and President Biden, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. Come on, Nikki Haley, I know you're asking people to vote for you, but you don't even address slavery. Why would you get the vote? What did President Abraham Lincoln tell Congress and President Joe Biden to do? He says, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. You know, President Abraham Lincoln gave reparations to the slaveholders for lost wages or for free labor when he freed black people, if that makes sense to you. And what's he do to make up for it? Tell President Joe Biden and Congress, sign reparations now, sign reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day. Happy New Year!